So I've been thinking about worldviews a lot lately, and most worldviews fall in one of two categories. Either people believe that there is a God, or people believe that there is not a God. And I was thinking also about a mathematician who lived back in the 17th century, by the name of Blaise Pascal. He was from France. Some of you may have heard of Pascal's triangle. There was another thing. He was also a Christian philosopher, and he came up with something known as Pascal's wager. And basically what he postulates is the people bet their lives on whether or not God exists. Now, it gets kind of complicated, but I'll give you a really simple application. Basically, you take a Christian and an atheist, and you ask them this worldview question. What if you're wrong? Now, as a Christian, being asked if I'm wrong, I would say, well, I'm living a pretty good life. I try to live by the golden rule, biblical principles. Hopefully, I'm doing more good than harm here. Because I attend church, I've got a great group of friends that I get to hang out with, who really care about me, who love me, and me them. I don't really feel like I'm missing out on anything. Some people might say, well, wait a minute, what about the party scene, the bar scene, the swinging single scene? Not really my idea of a good time. And I guess if I'm wrong, I guess I'd have to say, well, I had a pretty good run and lived a pretty good life. Now, you pose the same question to an atheist, what if you're wrong? Well, for the atheist, it becomes much more serious. Being wrong is much more serious, because that means that there is a God, that maybe we are obligated to Him, and maybe He's going to hold us accountable for the way we lived and how we lived our lives. And if the Christian Bible is the true God, then there is a judgment, and one day they will stand in front of Him and have to give account for everything they did. So basically, the wager comes out that, the way it basically works out is that you're better off being a Christian, whether there is a God or not. Because if the Christian's wrong, I haven't really lost anything. And if the atheist is wrong, there's eternity to pay for the consequences of their lifestyle choice. So then it comes down to the agnostic. The agnostic basically says, I don't know if there's a God or not. It says the existence of God can't be known. Well, the problem with that is the agnostic then has to assume the very real possibility that there is a God, and that there is judgment, and that He is going to hold us accountable, and we may have to answer for our actions. So the logical lifestyle choice for an agnostic is live the Christian life as an insurance policy, if nothing else. Because, yeah, the truth is you haven't lost anything if it turns out you're wrong. If it turns out there is no God, you haven't lost anything. And if there is a God, thank goodness I lived my life as if there was one. Now, obviously, there's problems with that, but the real illustration is that people who call themselves agnostics, if you really look at their lifestyle, they're not living as Christians, they're living as atheists. They're assuming that there is no God. And that's about the same kind, which, as Pascal was pointing out, that's not the logical choice. It's like saying, well, I don't think there's going to be a fire that's going to burn my house down, so I'm not going to get fire insurance. We buy fire insurance hoping that that's true, but also prepared for the idea that it might actually happen. But that's not the way agnostics live, and that's why I say there really is no such thing as an agnostic. A person who calls themselves an agnostic, really, by the way they practice and the way they live, they really are atheists. Anyway, don't really have a way to wrap this up, but just some thoughts.